Hello. I hope you enjoyed that little animation I did about a regular occurrence of when I was growing up. Asking for a Happy Meal or fast food. Meanwhile, my mom was cooking a regular Mexican dish. Anyways, my name is Joshua Blanco, and my family is from Mexico. This photo here is when I was about to graduate kindergarten. I have a brother and a sister who I'm really close to, and I love them very much. I grew up with education basically instilled in me. My mother prioritized education above all and made sure that we were successful in school. And one of the ways that she made sure we were successful was to enroll us in choir, in an after school program in our elementary school. Here's a photo of my sister with the glasses to the left. That's me in the middle and my niece in the right. In fact, if you looked hard enough on YouTube, you would find this.
Celebrate, celebrate, a celebration of you and me. Celebrate, celebrate, I celebrate you and me. Celebrate, celebrate, a celebration of you and me. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate.
Yes, that was a video of all three of us in a choir performance. That was my niece at the very beginning of the video. And then after that, you can see me in the middle. Then after that, you can see my sister at the very end in the back. There were many cultural protective factors in our community that helped us succeed. We lived in a close-knit community of Mexicans living in an apartment complex. All the grown-ups would watch out for each other and us kids. And of course, my mother would watch out for their kids as well. The kids in our apartment complex would grow up together, go to each other's birthday parties and our graduations, and we were safe under the guidance and surveillance of everyone in the apartment complex that was a part of this close-knit community. This allowed us to make mistakes in safe and controlled environments, which allowed us to grow without shame or ridicule. This also enforced the rules of our culture, which didn't allow us to deviate into drugs or other reckless and dangerous behavior. Basically, my mother wanted us to be successful in academics, and that we were. I enrolled in a lot of college preparation programs ever since middle school. I was so academically invested that I even got to meet Ted Cruz. This is a photo of me and other academically gifted students meeting Ted Cruz. And, well, he's the only celebrity that I've ever actually met. Although, technically, I have met Bernie Sanders before. Technically. Thankfully, I accepted the message of my family, culture, and community, and I ended up graduating high school at the top of my class. And I'm currently now enrolled in university on a full scholarship, which wouldn't have been possible due to the high pressure on education that was instilled in me since childhood. Another topic that I want to touch on is acculturation. I consider myself to be the most acculturated member of my immediate family. I speak more English than Spanish, although I will admit that I do speak a fair amount of Spanish. I listen to American English music way more than Spanish music, as you can see here with my Lana Del Rey record. My family listens to more norteño and Mexican and Latin music than I ever do. I cook more American dishes and eat more American food than traditional Mexican food. That's not to say that I don't eat Mexican food, but if given the chance, I would prefer American food. Even though I've assimilated much to American culture, my family and especially my sister try to continue to have strong ties to Latin American culture. This photo actually is when we went to a soccer game, which is obviously a super common and popular sport in Latin America. One of my cultural connections to Hispanic and Mexican culture would be shopping. My family uses stores like La Michoacana and Fiesta as transitional areas of experiencing. These stores give us a way to connect to our Mexican roots through food, music, and socialization. Although I will say that the least acculturated aspect of myself would be my familismo. I have high levels of familismo and I adore my family. That's actually one of the main reasons why I didn't go out of state for university. Which is interesting because one of the vignettes in the class actually went over this topic. I also felt like I would be abandoning my family and wouldn't know what to do without them. In fact, all of my family lives in Texas, and I simply didn't know anyone outside of the state to justify moving. In terms of holidays, the older folks in my family still decide to focus on traditional Mexican holidays like Rosca de Reyes, where we break bread and choose who gets to cook a big meal for the rest of the family. My family has also acculturated to American holidays like Thanksgiving, but we also celebrate Christmas and Easter, or in Spanish, Semana Santa. Good. This is a photo of my family this past Thanksgiving. We celebrate Thanksgiving with traditional American dishes like turkey, ham, green beans with fried onions, and turkey stuffing. But we also incorporate our own Mexican culture into Thanksgiving. We buy and eat food such as tamales, pupusas, and arroz con leche. This is an example of how our family blends Mexican culture with American culture by eating these two types of meals at Thanksgiving. One of the major ways that at least the young ones in our family have assimilated is through food. I will admit, especially in my immediate family, we do eat a lot of American junk food, like you can see in the photo here. But we also do regularly cook non-Mexican meals. We also cook other types of dishes that aren't necessarily American either. We cook Italian dishes like pasta and spaghetti, and sometimes we cook Indian food like tikka masala as well. A majority of the food that we eat is not traditionally Mexican. However, that does not mean that we don't eat any Mexican food at all. We do still cook occasionally tacos and tamales, or we would go out to a Mexican or just simply a Hispanic food truck and buy traditional Mexican food. In this class, we have talked a lot about ethnic identity and development. I consider myself way more comfortable with the Hispanic label more than any other label. Through academia and life, it has always felt odd and weird having to fill out paperwork and check the race as white as opposed to Hispanic, because technically Hispanic isn't a race. However, the term white and Caucasian has a lot of attachments and stigma to it that it does not describe me at all as who I am as a person, even less so culturally. I consider myself to be Hispanic more than any other label. And finally, we have also talked about gender socialization and gender roles in class. The blue for boys and the pink for girls dichotomy color thing is unfortunately still a very common aspect of Hispanic culture and is still passed on to the next generations. There is still a lot of sexism and disrespect towards women in acculturated and non acculturated spaces of the Hispanic community. In some aspects, they do exist in my family, but for the most part, it does not. This was also talked about in the chapters, but because of how my family treats gender and gender roles, there's a lot of acculturated stress between me and, well, my sister and the younger members of our family. There's a lot of clash between old traditional Mexican beliefs and the more liberal and more modern American beliefs that we were taught and exposed to while living in this country. However, under my family, my sister's education has always just been as important as mine. We both get similar advice, and our mother have really pushed for both of us to be academically, professionally, and economically successful.